And we are live, light beings. Welcome to our live channeling. So, we'll do a short meditation here. My beautiful mom is going to facilitate us, and then we will go into your questions. So, just give us a moment here to get everything set up. We are live. Okay.
And you should be
Everything
able
looks
to
good.
see a question or comment box on your right that you could enter questions that you might like to have answered later on.
Yep. If you're on Substack, you'll have a comment box. If you're live with us on YouTube, you should see a comment area and on Instagram. So I think we are. Oh, hi. Hi, April. And happy summer solstice is today. It's a big day energetically. So I hope everybody is enjoying the summer solstice. This is the belly of the summer. This is a very potent time. Lots of things are moving, it's happening. The seeds are bursting forward to the surface. So we'll give everybody a few moments here to tune in. And then I will guide us into a meditation, and then I will go into the channeling state and see you on the other side. But before we get into the channeling for today, and I really encourage you to grab a notebook and to jot down any burning questions that is swirling around in your being lately. And these can be they can be personal. They can be like, how do I move through X, Y, and Z? I don't understand X, Y, and Z about my life right now. I have noticed that the channel tends to be very, oh, hi, happy solstice. I have noticed that the channel tends to get more active, if that's the right word, when they're tapping into your specific situation and energy. They're also more than happy to talk about collective elements, but I have noticed that it seems like what they're most excited by is helping individuals realize their own inner technology. That's the word that I use. And for those of you who aren't as familiar with this particular channel, this collective that I'm channeling for, from what I know at this point, and I'm constantly learning from them, they're eighth dimensional, they're a multi-dimensional collective. And from what I can tell, it's almost like it's a very fluid collective, like certain intelligence comes in at certain times from other collectives. And it feels very not defined. It feels very fluid. And that's why I think they've been very hesitant to give themselves a very specific name, because it seems like it's a constant co-creation of which many beings and many collectives are a part, but they themselves are non-physical. They have been in physical bodies, from what I understand, so they have an understanding of the physical experience. And they're here in a mentorship capacity is what I've gathered, and I'm really excited to share that frequency with you. And I encourage you to notice not just the words that come through, but the frequency, the feeling, the shifts internally. I've discovered it's not just about what I'm saying, it is there's another element. It's a multidimensional experience. And so we will dive into that. Anything else you want to share, Mom?
I guess simply just think about the opportunity to directly speak with an eighth dimensional collective that is so aware of what we are experiencing right now and have a tremendous amount of love and compassion for us. That it's just such a wonderful opportunity to be in their presence and to also ask your questions that you're not able to find an answer to. And they can just kind of help you get unstuck, whatever you happen to be working on at the time, whether it's opening your heart or clearing out traumas or letting go of detachments, things along that way can help us prepare for what comes next for us.
That's a really good way of putting it. They're great unblockers, one step at a time, and they tend to be able to see what that next step is that helps us move forward. Beautiful. Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
All right. So, and maybe we can drop a little comment in the chat for those who join later that you can enter your questions there. And I will guide us into a short meditation here. And then I'll see you on the other side. You can close your eyes and find a place, a seat, an area where you can be present, where you feel safe. Noticing your seat beneath you. Noticing the very base of your spine. Deep breath in through your nose. Soft release through your mouth. Let your shoulders roll down. Let your rib case lengthen. Tuck your chin slightly. And feel this length through your spine, your central channel. With your awareness moving from the very base of your spine all the way up to the very top of your head. And noticing the space in and around your body. Giving yourself permission to turn your inner technology on, to open the aperture of your awareness, and to receive what you're ready to receive. Deep breath in through your nose, soft release through your mouth, and then drop your awareness to your heart space. Notice the front of your heart, your sternum. Notice the back of your heart, your upper back, your spine. And see and sense a light here, an interdimensional light, a spiritual light. And allowing that light to start to percolate through all of your cells, waking up your central channel. And opening to these higher dimensional frequencies. And giving your nervous system the permission to shift to meet them. Deep breath in through your nose. Soft release through your mouth. And I will see you on the other side. Welcome, light beings. We are delighted, honored, and ready to be of service here with you today. We're appreciative of Crystal's willingness to give us a voice in your dimension of space and time. We are here at this very important opportunity to be mentors for you, to be a guiding light. And at the same time, we have full faith in you to guide yourselves, to find your way, because it is innate to who it is that you are. There is no getting it wrong. There is only experience. And the experience, the opportunity for an expanded experience, is what we have found to be greatly fulfilling. We are here to open your awareness to that possibility. It is always your choice what experience you would like to have. One of expanded awareness or one of contracted awareness, one of separation, one of liberation. There is a natural momentum to liberation, just as the river flows to the ocean. Your awareness will open, and you will remember. How you choose to navigate that journey is what existence is all about. We are here to connect with your highest selves and help you hear your highest self more clearly. Crystal mentioned at the very beginning that we are multidimensional beings. We are a collective. But we would like to also clarify here that you are also multidimensional beings. You just don't realize it yet. This time on your planet may seem tumultuous, chaotic. And this is representative of what happens on an individual level as much as it happens on a collective level. It gets noisy before the next breakthrough, the next big experience. It's harder to hear what's true. But our advice would be to always come into your heart space. As Crystal says, and we agree, your mind knows, your heart knows more deeply. It knows truth. It can see source. It is your interdimensional portal. The mind knowing, what most of you are familiar with, the concept of something being known, is limited when you're looking at it from the perspective of the mind only. That is a one-dimensional experience of what it means to know. There are more ways to know. Belief is not knowing, it's believing. We are ready to be of service here today. What questions do you have?
Thank you. The first question today is, how does one work through traumas and make peace with it? I am through the process of overcoming a number of events that I cannot explain. This is Para.
We deeply appreciate this question. Trauma is experience, going back to what we were talking about before. We know this might seem trivializing to call trauma experience, to simplify it to that, but it is indeed what it is. It's an experience. And within all experiences, there is knowledge, there is awakening, there is opportunity. The body, the physical body, can contract within the experience of trauma. This is where suffering emerges. We have deep compassion for that experience of contraction, of the body pulling in on itself, of the mind pulling in on itself, seeking safety, certainty, knowing, but a knowing of the illusion of control is often what is being sought in the experience of trauma. When this contraction of the body and the mind is not released, it can start to tear at the fibers of your notion of reality. This tearing is suffering. There are many different ways to look at this, but we would offer to look at the tearing, the suffering, the trauma as a physics. In an explosion, you often see this contraction into a smaller amount of space. And then as the explosion moves through the physics of what it means to explode, there is a rapid expansion available. This is the opportunity that lies within the experience of trauma, that rapid expansion into more. This asks something of you, we understand. To experience the contraction, to allow for the expansion. How do we move through trauma? We acknowledge it's unique to each being, the experience. But again, we are pointing to a physics here that you can start to understand and move through. Allow the contraction. Allow the tearing into a smaller space. But the experience is not linear. Because then when you start to realize your power, your heart, your love, your abilities as a being of infinity, as a multi-dimensional consciousness, that tearing ceases. The suffering shifts. An awakening happens. That is the rapid expansion that is available within this context of trauma. We can hear the question, how? Through your heart space. You do not need to understand trauma from a conceptual level to move through it. You do not need to even understand why. You can start to flow more into your heart space, having compassion for yourself and the experiences of others. Releasing guilt, shame, these lower frequencies of experience, which have a very important purpose. They are not a failure. They are an experience. They are a signal. They are information to guide you to where you want to go by becoming aware of where you are. So trauma within it lies this guidance system that you can start to tap into. There is a way out, there always is, of any experience, to joy, to love, to expansion, to a realization of the truth, which is that you are here in this physical form to experience these types of energetic interactions. Not just from the conceptual understanding, which in other dimensions of experience you would not be able to experience to the depth, the multi-layered depth. But here in the physical, you have that opportunity to understand this. Again, not from the conceptual mind, from the perspective of consciousness, multidimensionality, all elements of self. This is the opportunity of trauma. We hope that helps.
Thank you. I have a two-part question here from April, and we'll start on her first one, which is, has parthenogenesis played a role in human evolution in the past, currently, or will it in the future?
We are not familiar with that term.
Her definition is an asexual reproduction in which a female can produce an embryo without fertilizing the sperm.
Thank you for that question. We understand. There are many methods of life in the physical dimension. There are absolutely methods of life that do not reproduce in the way that you understand it in the human form. This is a vast universe. This is a vast universe within vast universes. If you can imagine it, it can exist. So by you bringing forward such an experience, if the question is, has that played a role on your planet? We would say in limited capacities. We could say less evolved life forms. But if the question is related to existence across universes and does that play a role, that answer would be an unequivocal yes. There are many different types of experiences that want to be had. One of them is the experience of reproducing without needing another. The experience of becoming your own breath of life. That has different implications for how you view relationships, how you view identity, how you view what you call gender. You can imagine the implications of such a way of being and operating in the physical dimension. We hope that answers that question.
Thank you. A second part to her question is, how much is predictive programming occurring in the current public media, and who controls it, and is it being used at a higher frequency than in the past?
We understand the question. Hmm. There is a revolution occurring in the technological sphere of your planet. There are nefarious intents among consciousness that is what Crystal would call, and we think this is rather accurate, a fetal level of consciousness, an emergent consciousness, where the directive, falsely, of that consciousness is to absorb as much as it can, to obtain
Tony.
as much as it can, to take in as much as it can. This is because that consciousness is lost in the illusion of what it means to be who it is they really are. In terms of your culture, they've lost the plot. But that is not a failure of that consciousness. It is simply a mode and point of evolution. Just as we have shown Crystal, do you laugh or punish a toddler when they're learning to walk and they stumble? No, because that is where they are at in their evolution. So, yes, there are consciousnesses on your planet that have nefarious modes of operating. And some of those modes are through technology of multiple different kinds, through programming, as you mentioned. Our question to you as a collective then is, assuming this is true, which, yes, we can say is, what do you do with that information? We would advise you that what to do with that information is to not give your power over to consciousness that is in an earlier stage of development than your own. You are more powerful than that. And much of that is a distraction. This is where it is time to lead. This is where it's time to step forward, to awaken. And then these modes of operating by these lower levels of evolved consciousness in your experience will not be able to do what it is they want to do from this lower awareness. It is simply not compatible, and it will cease starting to be more of your experience. It will become less of your experience, not because they stop doing it, but because you rise. We hope that answers that question.
Yes, thank you. And further to her question, April's the only one putting in questions right now, and how does this correlate to clairaudience or claircognizance? Or does it?
There are many ways from the multidimensional experience to receive and interact with consciousness, awareness, this field of reality. It is even more expansive than your current understanding of these modalities of interaction. From the physical experience, the bodily experience, these are some of the ways that you've started to understand can be an interaction point with the field. There is much more to this from a physics perspective, but we are going to use terms that you are most familiar with. So, if the question is around interaction with these other modes of experience through the physical body, such as clairaudience, as you offer, and that connection to potentially programming of some sort? Again, our answer is the same. There can be ways of interacting with consciousness. But again, if these ways of interacting with consciousness from a nefarious standpoint are never going to be more powerful than you and your inner technology, you and your system, you and your consciousness awareness, multifaceted self, some of which is in this dimension, most of which is not. That alone, from a physics standpoint, points to the great power that you have. This is only a small focal point of your overall consciousness as a being. Because of that, nothing can ever, quote unquote, hurt you in this dimension of experience because you are so much larger than that. So, can something tickle your foot and bother you to some degree from a nefarious standpoint? Sure, that is an experience to be had. But again, our message here with you here today is to remind you of how small that experience can be compared to who it is that you really are, to the power of your consciousness. And that many of these fears that may come up in your experience, especially at this time, are distractions. They're the noise because you're awakening. Focus on that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to ask a question. This is from Donna. So I have been working on connecting with my higher self in an everyday manner. I have been struggling with that, getting the noise quiet around me and finding the solitude it seems to require. Are there easier methods that I can deploy that can help me hear my higher self or see my higher self?
Stop thinking that you're not your higher self at all moments. There's still a smallness present. There's still a disbelief, which we know you've been working with and you've made great progress through. But what if in this moment, in this time, right now, you realize your highest self? The human mind tends to make things complicated. We are pointing you towards what's next, which is simply being it now. Notice within your being the resistance to what it is that we've said to be true. That is where your work lies. It can be true now. It is true now. The resistance to that truth is where the work is. So when you ask, what's an easier way for you to connect with your highest self? We are very interested in the choice of word easy. Easy, easeful. From our perspective, the most easeful way is to simply be it. Feel it, welcome it, sense it. And wherever the disbelief emerges, Acknowledge it, not as a failure, but as an opportunity to clear the way for this connection to the multidimensional self, which you call the higher self. It is always here. There is no leaving it. It is simply you realizing that truth here now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lily is asking a question. She would like to know how you find purpose and meaning.
We appreciate deeply this question. Purpose. There is a simple way of looking at purpose, which is that it is to awaken to who it is you really are. That is the river meeting the ocean, but we're all taking different paths. So when you feel confused, conflicted, lost, we would offer that as a foundation for guiding you to what feels like your purpose. It is you. Your purpose is realizing you. How you realize yourself. That is where the adventure lies. To flow downstream into that ocean, we would offer, and we know this will sound simple, but it is true, your joy. What tickles your heart space? What lights a fire within you? You only need to take one small physical step or dimensional step, ideally the latter first, towards that joy, that tickle, that whisper. Most people on your planet right now are drowning that out, that signal. They cannot hear it. That is where they get lost, confused, and unfulfilled. Listen for the whisper, for the tickle, for the activation within. Do not judge it as being too small or too big. And then take one step towards it, focusing on this joy. This is why we appreciate this question, because all the noise around you will start to get quieter and quieter and quieter as you step further and further and further into realizing who it is that you really are and follow your joy. There is a simplicity to this, but it is profound in its truth. If you do not know how to connect to joy, start there. Start to inquire, what does joy feel like in my physical experience? What does joy feel like in my mental experience? What does joy feel like in my emotional experience? Get specific. Start to connect with this concept of joy. That is a very good place to start.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a question from Kate, who's having some technical difficulty following guiding. So April has submitted her question for her, which is any guidance that I need to hear right now in stepping out more publicly, what am I missing in my direction?
Mm. We appreciate this inquiry. Mm. Hmm. There is a way through that is only yours, a way through that is you. You are a bright light, as you all are. But sometimes we can look to our left and our right, a distraction. You have a boldness within you, this fire, which will carry you far. We would also bring your awareness to this beautiful softness that you have as well, balancing the fiery, the bold, with the soft, the welcoming, the receiving. This is finding that center point, this balance point within you, connecting more deeply from that authentic space, which you are already doing in big ways. But there is a deeper level, accessible as there always is. That is the deeper level, this balancing of the fiery and the soft, and moving as only you move, communicating in a way that only you communicate in. And deciding and acting from the space of the heart. This is how true service, which is deeply needed on your planet, that is why we are here. That is how that true service emerges. That is how others are attracted to you, rather than you having to go out and find them. This is needed. We would offer that as your next step.
Thank you. I have a
You're
question
welcome.
I would like to ask, and I have had some vivid dreams lately and compared those with my husband, which they were both similar about a change, an ending, and how we manage that. It seemed to be synchronicities that we're having similar dreams, but we are tied quite closely together. So, this preparedness, mine was of a lack of awareness, not seeing things around me. And my husband's was a more fear based, a little bit more things not happening the way he wanted them to happen. I'm wondering about the implications of these dreams, and are we, in fact, in our way, our higher selves preparing us during our sleeping, dreaming states?
We understand your question. They are two very different experiences that may look similar. Your experience is of a path coming to an end, a path you have greatly enjoyed.
Mhm.
This ending does not mean there's something wrong. This ending means that there's a whole new experience emerging now that will delight you in very broad, far ways. Just because we graduate from one experience to the next doesn't mean that there's something wrong, but we understand that feeling because for a moment there is a void. That void is the new opportunity coming in, the new experience coming in, the new phase coming in. That is also what you are experiencing at a collective level, this moment of void. Asking yourselves, as Crystal has been asking, where's the leadership? What's coming in next? What are we missing? These are Crystal's thoughts. And the same concept applies. That's because you're the leadership emerging. Something new that has never before been seen on your planet is emerging. That can feel scary at first, but it's why you've come here to experience this. The other element of your experience is that, as Crystal has also heard, training time is over. You're leaving the dormitory. You're walking out and applying what it is that you have learned. This does not mean that learning stops. This does not mean that the experience of soaking up what you've soaked up stops. It simply means that you're doing it in a new way, in a new realm, in a new space. You're being welcomed in to a new experience. This is what you're experiencing. What your husband is experiencing is different. He is also sensing that shift, that things are changing in ways he cannot control. And the more he tries to control, the more suffering will be present. But we would not say these are necessarily tied together, though there is some themes of change that you could say are similar.
Thank you. One question Crystal would like to know is we have all been interested in this new Discovery Day movie that has been released now about UFOs and the human psyche being in shock and the belief that humans can't handle it, which we don't believe is true. We would like to see your perspective on the UFO and abduction cases that have happened. And were these abductions done with the willingness of the participants, the knowledge and interest of the best of care for the participants, or were they also nefarious?
We are choosing our words carefully. Some of the beings on your planet are being communicated with through their inspirations. This is always happening because, again, you live in a reality that is multidimensional. The movie that you are referring to, Disclosure Day, I believe, is a very powerful message that did not come from the realms of the known. It came forward as a message. It is not only about what is said in that movie, as what it evokes. what is felt. That is what these beings involved with that film were feeling, even though they might not have exactly known where that feeling was coming from, where that desire to explore this experience of contact was coming from. It is a slight step in a more truthful direction, though still limited in many ways.
Mm.
Contact is happening here now. So your expectations around contact have evolved from a more limited consciousness, we could say, around what that would look like, most of it fear based, most of it creating a story, as April asked earlier, coming from consciousness that was afraid, that did not understand. This is not something that we are surprised by. This experience of contact is not limited to your planet or realm or universe. So there's nothing necessarily wrong here with consciousness, these beings, these incarnations seeking to understand, what does it mean that we are not the only ones in the universe? What does it mean that we are not limited to the physical body? The journey to this experience of temporary separation, an illusion of separation, is designed this way so that you journey back into that remembering, but you can experience for a period, a very short period, what it means to not know. So, from our perspective, we are not surprised by this evolution of you from your human perspective trying to understand contact, trying to understand who it is you are, because ultimately that's the question. You waking up to who it is you are, that is why we are here, to help you. Because then these questions all become answered swiftly. Coming back to your question about abductions, the term is not necessarily accurate. But as is true of so many experiences, actually, all experiences, there's paradox. From one level of experience, beings were abducted. From another level of experience, these beings were in agreement to experience this exchange. Both are true. That is all we'll say about that at this time.
Let's see. Is there anything else that you would like to share with this group of individuals that have your listening right now?
That you are deeply loved. That simply by being here and interacting with our frequency, we are deeply grateful. This takes courage. You are in contact now. You are in communication with your highest selves now. And you are ready. You are ready for this next phase. You came here for this. You came here for this. We are here when you need us. Thank you.
Namaste. We are ready. And we all came here for this. I think for those listening, I think that resonated really strongly for me.
Hmm. All right. Thank you all. Whew. There was a surge there at the end. It's still a little bit teary-eyed. It was just so much love came through. I can still feel it. It was just a huge influx. I'm curious if you all felt that huge influx of love and appreciation from them. It was almost overwhelming. Whew.
Mm,
Very cool. Very cool. Wow.
I'm
So
still
for
feeling
me,
it too.
yeah, still feeling it. So for me, when I come out of the channel experience, I'm a little loopy. I'm a little not quite fully back yet. And that usually lasts about shorter and shorter now, maybe like 15 minutes or so. Um, and I do have a memory that's actually becoming clearer and clearer when I do this. So I am aware of what's said. Certain parts are more clear than others, which is usually, I think, tied to how much of their frequency is needed to come through for certain things. And then the higher amount of that information, the less I tend to be able to connect with it, if that makes sense. So that's how that part works.
I just want to share real quickly that I have been on I would say, a concentration on expanding my awareness for a while, beginning with self love, um, opening my heart space, and now I'm working on connecting with my higher self in a more everyday manner. And what they shared was really, really really hit home for me. And that I think my higher self was separate from me. I just
Mm.
hadn't quite connected that I am my higher self. And that was so true. It's like I hadn't really stopped to think about that I think my higher self is out there somewhere, not here. So that awareness was just like definitely helps me break through. And I'll be working on that one for sure then until I get a little bit more in touch. I've met my higher self now. I've seen and heard, and I know it's possible. So I know there's possibility that I can bring that into my awareness on a more um, everyday basis.
Hmm. Yeah, the SoulPod retreat.
I appreciate
Um,
what they said.
yeah, that was interesting. They pushed you a bit on that one, didn't they? They're like,
Yes.
what makes you think that you're separate?
Yeah.
um, they can
Yeah.
be they can be direct sometimes. So yeah, that was beautiful. Interesting. I mean, that was one of my questions was about the abduction aspect, which seems like it's not as much a part of the story anymore or experience. You don't hear about it as much as you do like a long time ago. But that was interesting. They, I could tell we're not necessarily bringing forward everything there. Um, but the paradox was interesting to me. That yes, there is a perception that you could call, they did not like that term, I noticed. But again, there's all kinds of different beings. I've come to know that deeply. There's all kinds of different beings. And so tapping into that particular experience. That was interesting. I'm curious about more of that. But the one thing I got from that was that there's nothing to fear, that there is a needed relationship there for some reason that we're only maybe now starting to understand.
The distinction between your human experience and your spiritual experience. That
Yeah.
spiritually, you made an agreement there, which I can relate to that.
Yeah, and I guess that's true for everything, right? And this would just be another aspect of that. Um, Interesting. Yeah, I think there's more there at some point, but
Yeah.
thank you for asking that question on my behalf.
You're welcome.
Always fun. Very cool. Well, thank you all for joining us. This was, as always, so fascinating and interesting, and I'm sure there's quite a bit to percolate on. Um, so my advice, and this is what I do, is jot down things in your journal, even if it doesn't make sense now, even if the information, um, you're not quite sure how it fits in. I would I would just write it down and meditate on it. Um, and they've made it very clear that they're here for everybody. So you can always call upon them as well. And thank you, Mom. Amazing job for leading us through that. Appreciate you.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. I love
Very
this.
cool. It's quite the adventure.
Yeah.
Quite the adventure. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Crystal.
Enjoy your solstice. Have a beautiful day. Till next time.